are seeing, a school announced in Baltimore a 3% proficiency rate in a high school. 3%.
Oh my
That
gosh!
should
Holy
make
smokes.
national news. It barely lived through one news cycle.
Wow.
The sexual abuse problems, the self-harm is up. Suicide attempts resulting in an ER visit has increased 54% in the last 12 months for girls.
Oh my gosh.
54%. Where a suicide attempt lands a girl in an ER, it's through the roof. So the pandemic, locking down, quarantining, closing schools, exacerbated everything. So I'm enthused. I'm encouraged because the counselors are seeking information and programming and content to hand kids, but they're overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed. We could double the amount of counselors in this country in schools, and we still wouldn't have enough. It's scary, and parents don't understand what's happening. They don't understand how bad it is. They really don't.
Yeah, because they're only having the propaganda, on the so-called news of the crises in the world being,
Well, that and the parents were locked down too. They lost their jobs. They're being forced to take a vaccine. They've got their own distractions now away from their kids. How do I just provide for these kids? Get them into an unmasked school, let alone, okay, now how's my child handling this?
Right.
All part of the plan.
We just lost a 13-year-old kid the other day. They went on Snapchat, met somebody at a Walgreens and got a pill, but it wasn't a pill, it was a fentanyl pill. And the mom was asking me, I just don't understand. I didn't know my son was interested in drugs at all. And come to find out that he couldn't really get through the pandemic. He was climbing the walls, and the mom calls the pediatrician. And the pediatrician puts him on an antidepressant medication. Well, now he's back in school kind of functioning a little bit, and the pediatrician rethinks the prescribing of that antidepressant and rips the kid off of it. An antidepressant that the kid's dependent on now, and the pediatrician rips the kid, doesn't wean him down, doesn't withdraw or anything, doesn't consider anything. He just rips the kid off the antidepressant. So the kid has been on this antidepressant for 18 months, and so he goes out looking for his own antidepressant.
Wow.
And so he was finding it, but one day he met a guy, and it wasn't antidepressant, it was fentanyl, and he died, 13 years of age.
Oh, my gosh.
And it's story after story all across this country, and it's not making the news. The mainstream news doesn't give a crap about it.
No,
they don't care.
They don't.
And we're losing a generation of kids. This is a massive crisis of epic.
This is the biggest crisis in this nation, no matter what else is going on.
I was in San Diego the other day, and I came back to Phoenix, and I was coming up, through Yuma, and I said, let me run down. I went to the border. I spent 4 hours. I interviewed, because I have 4 documentary films, and I have 4 more projects underway right now. But I'm doing a project on fentanyl, so I said, maybe I could find a Border Patrol agent to talk to. Not only did I talk to one, I talked to 14. They were calling them in. They were radioing their friends coming over to talk to me. I talked to Border Patrol agents they're dealing with backpacks of fentanyl on a daily basis. I said, I don't understand. I don't see this on the news, not even Fox, Newsmax, no one. Where's the coverage of the fentanyl tablets that are pouring into this country? We're getting it every day. Nobody cares. It's massive. So I'm rushing this thing so I can share the news, but I don't know that anybody's even going to listen to me.
Well, and if there's no consequences for it, what's going to stop them? There's no if you're found with a backpack of fentanyl, there should be heavy consequences, so that it's what's happening.
Nothing. They're releasing them. The guys that they just arrested for dealing fentanyl to Michael Williams, the actor that died, they were released under the bail reform of New York. If there's no consequences, there's no change. That's the same thing for addicts. We have to give consequences. And prison, I spent 12 years in prison. Prison saved my life. Saved my life. So there has to be consequences. If there's no consequences, nothing's going to change. But to these cartels who are making billions of dollars trafficking human beings and billions of dollars trafficking poison into our country, it just boggles my mind. People argue with me about a wall or the border. I don't understand. Tell me why you wouldn't want a border wall. Immigration. This has nothing to do with immigration. And if you really cared about those people, you wouldn't put them in harm's way. They're dying left and right while the cartels are pressing fentanyl raw materials from China into pills, and they're shipping it into our country, and they're selling it to kids on TikTok and Snapchat. And you got 6th and 7th graders dying all across this country, and no one's alarmed about it. It's crazy.
This is very, very sad. Very sad.
Yeah, I'm sitting here speechless because I'm speechless that we're not talking about it, that parents aren't informed, that, every kid 7 years old and up has an iPhone with TikTok on it, and people act like it's completely harmless, and it is so harmful.
You can buy drugs on TikTok now.
And Snapchat, and it's all China. I mean, no one's asking questions. Wait a minute. Why are we even at the Olympics? I love our athletes.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. You know what? You're absolutely right. And I have to wonder if Trump was in office, would that have happened?
Mm-mm.
Would that have happened? I don't think so. No. I don't think he would be okay with that at all.
We're going to boycott China. We're not going to the China Olympics.
Not going to China.
This is us trying to sound like Trump. It's pretty terrible.
Yeah, we should be shutting trade down with China. They are importing fentanyl for one purpose and one purpose only. Brezhnev said many years ago, we're going to implode America without firing a single shot. That's exactly what China's doing.
You know what?
The war is on. Everyone's saying we're going to have a war. The war is on.
Yeah, it is.
It's a different kind of warfare. It's the biowarfare, the medical warfare, the mind warfare over the children.
Yep.
It is. Exactly.
In Oregon today,
there's a war over the minds of the babies.
In Oregon today, they organized a parent whole thing. It went Oregon wide. It started in Salem. Went Oregon wide. The moms showed up and they were going to ask, to the kids to be strong enough to just take the mask off and walk out. And she texted me and said it was so devastating. It's like they had no soul in their eyes. They were deceived. They are already indoctrinated. When they've got adults standing outside the school saying, take off the masks.
They won't do it.
They won't do it. They're too afraid to do it. And now these are the same minds that are being introduced, like you're saying, to drugs on TikTok and social media with distracted, broke, concerned parents. It's like the first shot was releasing the pandemic in. Then the second shot now is taking this drug fight to the kids. So we got to go to break. When we come back, there's so much more to talk about.
Oh my gosh, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, we'll cover some more.
Let's encourage
call to action.
Yeah, this call to action for you parents out there. Hey guys, welcome back to the She's So Right show. We have special guest today, Michael Deleon, who is on the front lines fighting the drug epidemic for our children. And off air just now, he gave us a crazy, staggering statistic that 2/3 of fentanyl coming into the whole United States is coming through Arizona's open border. Michael, just talk about that when you're, the frustration and what we can do as parents. Because what happens in these shows or listening to the news, and why I stopped listening to even Fox is just, it's so depressing. I mean, and I feel like this is exactly what they want, is us to feel helpless and just go back to bed and not do anything. So what can we do as parents to help our kids?
Yeah, every prevention organization in the country has always had a gold standard, and that gold standard was eat dinner with your kids 5 nights a week. You have to eat dinner with your kids 5 nights a week. Well, in 2019, even before COVID, 2022, can families really eat dinner? Obviously, it was happening when we were locked down, but could families really eat dinner with their kids 5 nights a week? And I said, no, I don't think parents can eat dinner with their kids 5 nights a week. Practice and 2 jobs and what have you, right? Life. But you have to have 5 conversations. You have to have 5 conversations. So maybe it's 2 breakfasts, 2 dinners, and a lunch. And I actually wrote a whole book. We sat down for a year, my wife and I, just like you guys, she's much smarter than me. We sat down and we wrote a book for parents. Because if you told parents have 5 conversations a week, would parents even know what to say? Parents don't even understand the Juul, the Juul, the #1 selling vaping device in America. They don't understand what Delta 8 and Delta 10 is. They don't understand that hemp was legalized under the Farm Bill. The good Farm Bill that Trump signed, in that Farm Bill was stuck the legalization of hemp. And everybody was like, well, hemp is okay. That's for lotions and rope. No, there's psychoactive molecules in hemp just like cannabis. So we legalized marijuana nationwide, all 50 states, for kids, called Delta 8 and Delta 10. These are molecules in the hemp plant. And unwittingly, Trump signed the legislation legalizing it. And it was all corrupt. And I tried to tell 535 Congress members, don't, include that in the bill. Nobody listened. So Republicans and Democrats. So parents need to know what to talk about, and they need to be educated. So we wrote a book called Table Talks and Dashboard Conversations. It's on our website, steeredstraight.org. It's also on Amazon. Table Talks and Dashboard Conversations. It's 2 years of conversations that you can have with your kids, all relevant and current, there's not another book like it in the country.
Wow.
So parents need to have conversations and educate their kids, because the only time in the history of our country that we have ever taken an addictive substance, cigarettes, and reduced its use by drastically using kids to do it was with cigarettes from 1999 to 2015. We went from 34% high school smoking to 7% high school smoking. We did it with education because kids believed the education and they stopped smoking. Well, the tobacco industry in the middle of that free fall came up with the vaping device, and they marketed it directly to kids. Big tobacco was done, and the vaping device saved their industry. And now we have 70% of kids vaping in middle schools and high schools.
70%.
Is that starting in middle school?
70%.
Middle school.
Yeah. Third,
That's
fourth
insane.
graders.
There
too.
needs to be, and there needs to be consequences in school that are heavy. Just like if they found drugs in their locker.
So the question is, is this not
what's going on in school?
This is not labeled a drug, and so therefore, if a teacher finds it, it's like, oh, it's just a vape pen. Is that what the problem?
Well, they might get suspended or in school suspension, but 40% of the vapes that these teachers are finding contain THC marijuana. So now it's not even nicotine, it's weed. The kids vaping marijuana in the classroom. And the industry has made little devices like pens, actual pens that you could write on. And the top of the pen is a heating element, an atomizer, and they have THC in the pen that the kid can write in the classroom. They have vaping book bags and vaping cups and vaping key fobs.
Wow.
They have vaping watches now where the cartridge
drugs
could go underneath the face of the digital watch. The kid could have a vape on his wrist, and he could vape in the classroom unbeknownst to the teacher who's standing 10 feet away from him. So parents need to be educated and then educate their kids. We can reduce this demand, and the only way we do it is with our kids. But they have to understand the truth, and they're being lied to. And this left, the left is the enemy of our country. The left wants to indoctrinate these kids and population control. And I say that, people are like, oh, you're such a conspiracy theorist. Okay, I'm a conspiracy.
Every conspiracy that we've been talking about for the last 2 years has come true.
Right.
So
I think you're on the right track.
Yeah.
Here's a great call to action just to start with parents. Turn the news off in your house.
Yeah.
Disconnect your TV. I don't care what you got to do, but don't let your kids watch the news and be the only source of news for them. We've got to take another break. When we come back, let's just talk more about that, of what parents can do, how they can get involved, what kind of table talks they need to be having.
That's right.
And hear more about, helping fight this pandemic.
Hey guys, you're back listening to the She's So Right show with myself, Brandy Barclay, Lindsey Graham, and our special guest today, Michael Deleon, a freedom fighter for our kids against this horrific drug problem that for some reason no one's talking about. It's really
there's more important things to talk about. Masks.
Yeah, mask your
and the
kids.
Vaccine.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing that these kids with so many masks on their face still can vape somehow.
Yeah.
How's that happening?
Because there's an exception for that.
Yeah, how weird. So, Mike, I want to just talk about this again. You wrote a book called Table Talks and Dashboard Conversations. Hey, guys, if you're not having these talks with your kids, I hope this spurred that in you. If you don't know what to say, I hope you buy this book. And I just want to, something that God keeps impressing on me through all different avenues is your children were entrusted to you by God. This is your territory. If you're on your phone all night long and they're in their room doing God knows what with their phone that they probably shouldn't even have at their age because it's like the gateway to all things bad, put your phone down. Stop thinking you're going to go change the world in the White House. Start by changing your house by having these meals. And just like Michael said, if it's not a 5